What's going on, guys? Miami here with JST, and today I have a guest with me.
What's up, Miami?
What's going on? I'm with my boy Ryan Harvey, and we are once again at Make Believe Studios. What I thought would be an awesome video for you guys is what is the best guitar speaker for metal, and who would make more sense to make that video with than somebody that's infamous for making impulse responses of guitar cabinets. So you want to talk a little bit about what you've done and how people know you and what they know you for.
I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've recorded such bands as I Am and Kubla Khan. I also made a cool impulse that some of y'all might have used. It's called S-Prez. The Andy Sneap form dudes, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I definitely know S-Prez. It's one that I've used many a times, especially on metalcore stuff. And I know that some of my favorite mixes and albums were done on this, especially a lot of stuff from Cam Mizzle. I know like some of the Memphis Mayfire stuff. Also some of the Micah Reload case stuff was all done on S-Prez. So what we really want to know is, what's your favorite guitar speaker and why?
I mean, I gotta be as cliche as it gets, but it's...
Don't say V30s.
It's the Mesa V30s.
Oh,
it has to be. And like, we can go down this rabbit hole. It's that 2000 to 2002. That's the one I found where I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
But before we actually get into that part, let's talk about something. You made the impulses with Rick Carson for Toneforge Disruptor.
Yep, absolutely.
And which are the speakers that were used inside of that?
We had two cabs. One was a Mesa V30, right?
What year?
07.
Okay.
And like, it's maybe a little bit out of the range, but it sounds great. I mean, when I heard that cab, especially in this room, I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. This is gonna be super easy. Because the first time I did, we made the Disruptor cabs was my first time at Make Believe. So, not knowing really what I'm getting into with this room and the cab, but like, I think what we turned out is amazing.
Everyone else, take a listen to that right now so you can hear that V30 from 2007. So what about the other ones?
Okay, and then, so it was a Mesa V30, and then guess what? Another Mesa V30, but different cab. And then Rick's got this 1960A cab with GT75s. And I know GT75s, they're not like the ultimate metal speaker. That's an amazing cab. That GT75 sounds amazing.
Okay, so it's not just the cabinet itself. You're saying that the sound of the cabinets changes throughout the years.
Oh yeah.
And what do you attribute that to?
Some different things, like if you play a guitar note at a specific tuning, right? So if like you doing drop A chugs on a Mesa cab, like you do that for 10 years, it will slowly change the sound of the cab. And then so S-Prez, for instance, was made from like, I want to say an early 90s Mesa cab, right?
Okay.
And I could tell that thing was played through when it showed up at my house. I got it from Guitar Center. I had it shipped when you used to be able to ship to Guitar Centers for free, and then do the used thing like that. And I mean, it was pretty beat up or whatever, but it's the year because, you know, there's this whole lore thing about the factory at Mesa or at Celestion that makes the Mesa V30s had a fire, and then they used newer material, and this was like in the 2000s, right? And then you have, they started off very dark, and as the years go up, they get brighter. There's something about what's going on in that 2000 to 2007, I want to say, because like, think about the bands that were coming out during that time, right? Some classic metalcore guitar tones that were like, you heard that coming out of your speakers and you're like, how do I get that tone?
Yeah.
You know, one of the big ones for me was End of Heartache. That opening chord, I was like, dude, how do I have that?
End of Heartache.
Yeah.
We got into a big discussion earlier about like who started metalcore, or what we call metalcore, you know, like with the screamed verses and then the clean singing coming in on the choruses, and he's saying Killswitch, and then I'm saying Atreyu, and then somehow we get back to talking about Fear Factory somehow.
And it is
like,
actually just Meshuggah.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they didn't have any clean singing. They didn't have clean singing.
yeah, but they wrote everything else.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a story for another time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, actually, let's take a listen to these two V30s on these cabinets that you did for Disruptor back to back. Let's just see how that sounds. So that's the difference that you get between those two cabs. Now, what year was the other Mesa cab that you did, if that one was 2007?
So that was a 2x12, right?
Yeah.
And that was, I want to say, maybe 2010, honestly. Yeah. So even though I have a preferred one, right, the 2007, like a good cab is a great cab. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I can't just go by the year. I have to go by my year.
Okay. So when you think of it in that regard, as V30s being that sound, what is it about the 75 that attracts you?
Okay, so
or the real 75, the good sounding ones?
So they're just different, right? So like, I'm a very, very much a V30 person, like super about V30s. I think there was like a good, until I got here, there was pretty much a decade in my life where I did not touch any other speaker. I was just like, I don't really care. I know I can get great sounds out of that speaker. But there, you know, like you listen to Deftones records and like, you know, Fear Factory and all this, and there's that kind of like, it's like woolly and hollow, but it's so like punchy in the lower mids, you know what I mean? Yeah. Where like the V30 is just, it's snappier and it's like, it's more cutty, you know what I mean? But the GT75s can get brittle, and we all know that, and that's why there's been like this whole thing is like, oh dude, the GT5 sound bad, they sound fizzy, they sound brittle, you know what I mean? And you just gotta find the right cab with the right speaker in it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of V30s, obviously. What I actually like myself is I'm very into the anniversary 30s.
I haven't heard them.
Okay, so these are like, they call them sometimes what, the heritage 30s. They're like halfway between a V30 and a Greenback.
Oh, I would love that, because Greenbacks are awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's like dead in the middle of those two things, right? Like the frequency response, and it's like, dude, like to me, I'm like, this is one of the best sounding speakers they have. And they had these, the reason they called them anniversary 30s, I think, is because they were put in the Marshall anniversary cabinet. And that's when they first were using those. I remember rocking with those. I was at Kyle Black's, and I just remember listening to that speaker, and I was like, yo, what is that? Like, what is that?
Dude, you hear a speaker and you're like, what is that?
Yeah, I was like, cause a V30, like, I know what that sounds like. Like, I hear it, I play through it. And what's interesting too is like, you could be playing with like a different amp and a guitar that you're not that familiar with, but for the most time, I know that's a V30. And I feel like that a lot of times about 75s, that I heard, I did not know the sound of. So actually, I wanna insert a clip of what those anniversaries sound like. So let's listen to that right now. So there you guys have it. V30s, not any surprise there. Those are the kings when it comes to stuff, but I thought you might want to hear it from somebody that literally started off and had their name popping from doing that. But also some other things Ryan's done that people don't know, like he worked on ZomBass.
Alex Wilkinson's my boy.
ZomBass is like kind of where bass DIs and metalcore really started.
Like program bass? Like that was it was like Trillian and then ZomBass if you couldn't afford Trillian.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And speaking of things though, since you're bringing up price points and what you couldn't afford, if you couldn't afford V30s, and let's say somebody wants to go and grab some speakers for their cabinet, what would be another alternative for them?
I'm the worst person when it comes to talking about things like this, because if it's a tone that I know that I can only get from that thing, I just say save up or go around and like try to find cabs where they like just that speaker sounds really awesome. If you know, like the speaker is such a like defining part in like what you're hearing, obviously, because it's the thing that it's the transducer. But when it comes to guitar tones, so I don't think there should be any compromises. I think, you know, if you can't get a great V30 sounding, I mean, a great sounding V30 cab, you should sell something so you can buy a great sounding V30 cab. I don't think there is a substitute with it, but that doesn't mean that like the most expensive cab has the best V30s in it. Like they're all so different, they all age so differently that you just have to go around and experience it and find the one. Like go to a pawn shop, go look in the back of all the speakers, find the V30s and stuff like that. Or like just any speaker. If any speaker captures your eye and you're loving playing in the room, put up a mic on it. Do you still feel that same excitement? And from there, like you can think about, oh, do I need this cab in my life? You know, like.
And that makes a lot of sense, because just because something's expensive doesn't even mean that it's gonna be right for the application. I could take, there's a Vox AC30 over there with Alnico blue speakers in it. If you know what that is, those are very expensive speakers. Alnico coming from 3 different types of metal. I'm forgetting, is it aluminum, nickel, and cobalt? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I think that's what that is.
I just learned something.
Someone in the comments is gonna correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what that is. Anyways, those are really expensive speakers. If you take 4 of those and put them into a Mesa cab, it's not gonna sound like how you think. It's not gonna sound good.
You ruined a Mesa cab.
You ruined a Mesa cab. And nobody wants to ruin a Mesa cab. Yeah. You know? And
other cabs exist.
Other cabs do exist. So go out there, experiment with V30s, not with anything else. That's the whole, no.
You know, I have V30 tattooed on me. Like,
do you really?
Like literally V30.
This dude has a V30 tattooed on him.
I like him.
I did not know that, and that just made this so much funnier to me. So glad to break this down for you with the man himself. And if you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. You only have to do it one time, and tap that bell for notifications so when a video drops, you know the location. We got some more videos coming out with the team at Make Believe, so make sure you stay tuned, and I'll catch you later.